One Extraordinary Marriage, Episode 9. Are you dating your spouse? Welcome back to One Extraordinary Marriage, where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of intimacy. You're here with Elisa DiLorenzo.
And Tony DiLorenzo.
We're going to talk tonight about dating each other. Remember those early years when you would get all dressed up and you had plans and you were going out?
I remember those years before we got married.
Yes, and then we got married. And it stopped. That's what we're talking about tonight.
That's what we're going
to talk about tonight.
Yes, we are.
We're going to get you guys caught up on what's been happening with us over the last week. This is actually a timely topic. We had date night on Friday night. That
was a really good one, too.
It was a great date night. I planned it.
You did.
Wasn't supposed to because it was your month.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean, my month? You want to tell our listeners what we're talking about there?
Sure.
Okay.
Tony and I have a standing date night the first Friday night of the month. The sitter that we have been using for
5 years.
5 years, yeah, since Alex was 2. She has a marriage sanity package for parents. And so on the first Friday night of the month, she has all the kids over to her house. And it's a great way for us to have date night on the schedule.
Every month.
Every month. Short of one of us being sick or one of the kids being sick.
Which we had in January.
January. Yeah, both kids, shots. But short of that happening, there is nothing that comes in between us and date night.
Right. And
so we also take turns planning date night. This is something that we started last fall, where instead of playing what do you want to do tonight, honey? I don't know. What do you feel like eating tonight? I don't know. What do you feel like eating?
And getting upset at each other before we even get out the door.
Right, because we've wasted 30 minutes with I don't know. What do you want to do? We're trying to be nice. And instead of somebody just making a decision and saying, I want sushi, and we're going to the beach.
That's right.
We hadn't been doing that. And so last fall, we decided that we were going to share responsibility for date nights by taking turns each month.
Right.
So 1 month is Tony's turn. He is responsible for planning where we're going for dinner, if we're doing anything that night, what we're doing. The next month is my month.
Well, and it even goes beyond that. I mean, remember the one time when I picked out your clothes?
That was our anniversary.
Right. But I mean, it was still a date night.
It was.
And I picked out your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I actually even called ahead. We were going to have sushi that night, which is one of our favorite foods to go eat together. It's something that we just really enjoy doing, just sitting at the bar hanging out with the sushi chefs. But this one instant, I called ahead. I actually ordered our food ahead of time, and Elisa didn't even have to think. As she came, we got in there, we sat down, they served us our drinks, and Elisa was already a little famished because I also had on that date night a massage set up for her, so we were getting out to dinner a little later than we typically do. But we sat down and they served us our dinner.
I was shocked.
I mean, you didn't even have to think that night. That was my whole goal.
And
I don't
worked.
know if I've done it since as good as that, but I still have planned out.
I'll give you credit. That was our anniversary. You kind of went above and beyond for our anniversary, and I appreciate that. And, I have to admit, it was nice. And it has been nice in the subsequent months when it's your turn to plan, just knowing that you've got it taken care of.
Right.
I ask you, okay, what do I need to be wearing? Am I going to be outside where I need to be dressed warmly? Or are we talking like jeans and a sweater, since we've been doing this over the winter?
Right.
But those are the biggest decisions that I have to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, so many of us, virtually all of us, I would go so far as to say, are busy people. We make decisions all day long. If we're home with our kids, we're making decisions not only for ourselves, but for the munchkins running around and running interference. And it's nice to just have a timeout where you can just sit and have somebody make the decisions for you in a loving way. Not like, this is what you're going to eat and this is what you're, in a mean, very controlling way. It was very giving.
Yeah, it is.
The way that you did that. And so anyhow, January was supposed to be your month. Was January your month? Yes, because March should have been your month.
Okay.
And the kids got sick.
Okay.
So we didn't do date night in January. And then February was Valentine's Day, and we did date night there.
Yep. Actually, the week before.
The week before, because we don't do anything on Valentine's Day.
You can read our Valentine's Day rant on the blog, oneextraordinarymarriage.com.
And so March was Tony's date night.
It was.
And so we were going back and forth. He's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm no, I'm not choosing. This is not my date night. You plan it. And so finally, Wednesday of last week, I put him on the spot. I'm like, are you planning date night or do I need to take over here? Because his schedule was just really busy. And
for that Friday, yeah, I was going to be really busy and I wasn't sure when I was going to get home. I sort of knew, but it was going to be 6:30ish, and I just wasn't sure how to plan around that. And so you stood up and you just said, okay, I will do it this month.
Yeah.
Which relieved me, and I was so happy you did that.
I can't wait to see what he does for me next month.
Right.
Since I stepped up a month early.
Yeah.
But we just decided, I decided that since Tony was having a full schedule that day, with clients, that we were just going to have a very mellow night. We were going to eat dinner at home, which, I just prepared something at home. And then we hadn't seen the movie Couples Retreat yet. So I picked up the movie. And so we just did dinner and a movie. We actually, low lights. We did, sort of like the candlelight glass of wine with dinner actually in front of the movie. We never do.
We don't?
We don't eat in front of the TV.
Well, especially with our kids. We're not going to eat in our living room.
Right. Yeah. Just nightmare waiting to happen.
And one thing, too, we did something special the weekend prior. We had gone up to Temecula to have lunch with my grandmother, who is older. And we went driving around afterwards, and we ended up at the winery where Lisa and I got married 13 and a half years ago. So it was really cool for us to end up at the winery, show the kids actually where we got married, and walk through and sort of share all these stories. And my grandmother was loving it too because she remembers it so well. So the bottle of wine we actually had Friday night brought back some memories. It wasn't the exact wine we had at our wedding, but it still came from Maurice Curry Winery up there in the Temecula Wine Valley.
Mm-hmm. It was a nice night. It was just very mellow. And, I know Tony described earlier in this podcast that very elaborate, planned out night that he did back in October for our anniversary. And that was a great night. Mm-hmm. This was also a great night on a very low key, low budget.
It was just, it was just cool. I mean, it was one of those date nights. And I think, Lisa and I have been having date nights for a number of years, and we've learned a lot. Early on in our marriage, I would say, and I'm not going to say, I know, we didn't date. We went through our courtship of dating and having these really memorable moments together, me picking her up and going to these really cool restaurants or going to a picnic or doing something really fun. And then we got married, and we didn't date each other. We would go to dinner. Let's go to dinner. Well, we'd go to the pub. We'd go to a restaurant. But it wasn't like we were dating each other. We weren't, or I wasn't anyways, really trying to woo her and say, hey, honey, I'm doing this for you. So for the early years of our marriage, the first 6 years of our marriage, I don't think we ever really did date nights. Now, yes, we would go on an anniversary trip, but that was, come on, that's once a year.
I'm just chuckling. We'll have to do anniversary trips on another podcast.
We
will share our anniversary trips with you on another. I'm writing it down right now. Down,
because that would be fun. So for the first 6 years, we really didn't do that. Our oldest was born, and we still didn't do date nights. And we started realizing that we needed to get some time. Without kids, it was somewhat okay. You could deal. I don't know if I'd even say deal. I would say if you're married and you don't have kids and you're listening to us, you still should be doing date night. I can look back over time in our marriage, and I would say I think we would have had a lot more fun and really cool experiences if we would have continued dating after we got married.
Well, I think it just it maintains the level of romance.
Right.
It's all about, you know what, whether we're going to a movie or, you know what, honey, you know, we're going to go to the park tonight. And it's not just like, hey, you want to go to the park? It's, no, I've got just a little something planned. And it, you know, it wouldn't have mattered if it was just, you know, let's just go sit under the stars. Let's take a blanket and go sit under the stars. And, you know, we lived in Colorado for a while. We've lived, you know, all over Southern California. And, you know, there are wonderful resources literally out your back door.
We lived in Orange County.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever did a date night at the beach. Like, hey, let's just go to the beach.
No, because we were of the mindset at that point in time that we weren't beach people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm just saying, you were just bringing up utilizing what's around just for a nice, fun date night. And we never did that back then. Well,
and, you know, I mean, dates can run the full range from being free, just going on a walk with your spouse, to, you know, the 5-star hotel. And it's important that whatever your circumstances are, that you date within your circumstances, but that you make it a priority. It is something that we didn't even really start doing on a regular basis till after Abby was born, I'm thinking. She was probably 6 months to a year old before we started making it a priority in our marriage.
Right.
So that's 9 years in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good.
No.
Not good. And, you know, it's one of those things that you hear everybody talk. Oh, you have to do date night. You have to do date night. And we ignored that. We were just, you know, first we were busy working, you know, it was just the two of us. And we had a standing Friday night when we lived in Orange County with our friends.
Right.
You know, everybody would go out on Friday night together. We'd all have dinner, and then we'd usually see each other on Sunday nights.
But again, what I'm saying is that's so different than what we do now. That is
right.
That's just like when we would go dating after not dating, but when we just go out after we got married. It was just sort of like
social.
Right. It was just social. A social thing. We're going to have some beers. We're going to hang out. But there was no romance. So right. I think the delineation between then and what we do now is that the whole purpose of our date night is to continue to romance each other.
And to connect. Right.
Just even like we did on Friday night, just eating that dinner was so cool, just sitting on the couch with you, because we're just eating. And I remember you just sort of had your legs up on the couch and they were just touching me, and you weren't like hanging over me and I wasn't hanging on you, but it was just, we had this really cool little connection between each other, and we're watching the movie and we're laughing a little bit, and you know, we're not getting all crazy romantic or romantic, but we were just there enjoying the time. You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest difference between just socializing with friends on a Friday night and being intentional about the date night.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And you know, since we've made, you know, around about 3-4 years ago now, probably 3 years ago when we started making it very intentional, there has been a difference in our marriage. And, you know, I wish, and I think we will be getting soon to the point where we're able to do maybe a second date night during the month with the kids getting older, and just our schedules and those types of things that allow us to say, you know what, we're going to do more than one. But we even make a point after the kids go to bed. I mean, there are times during the month when we're like, hey.
And here's a tip for everybody. Here's a great tip that Elisa's going to give you. Schedule
the date nights after the kids go to bed in your own home. Yeah. Whether it's plugging in a fun movie that you both want to watch, whether it's playing games. We love to play Yahtzee. And so there'll be times when we're just, you know, we're like, hey, let's pull out Yahtzee.
And we've also done hey, I got the kids to bed. Whoever comes out first from reading to the kids and putting them to bed, run down to Daphne's Greek food there or another restaurant, order it up, and get home. And so by the time the second person comes out, they are taking care of maybe like a little blanket in the living room, some candle lights, or lowering the can lights, and we just get to sit down and enjoy. It's a later dinner, yeah, but it's a time for us to enjoy.
And it has all the elements of date night. It's the two of you. It's a meal.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to be sitting in a restaurant.
Right. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go have sex after that right there in the living room.
Typically not with the kids in the house.
I mean, we're typically when the kids are in the house, we're locking the door, going into our bedroom. But you know what I'm saying.
I wasn't expecting that.
You weren't expecting that?
No, I didn't know you were like jumping in with that.
Oh, sorry. Well, date nights usually, as a guy, date nights you're going, hey, hopefully throughout the month I've been romancing her.
Okay.
She is feeling loved by me.
Uh-huh.
I have spoken to her in her love language, and everything that accumulates throughout the evening leads to sex.
So you've done everything right.
Yes.
This is your reward.
Yes.
It's kind of funny how date night usually falls on a Friday, and that's usually my day to initiate. I was just thinking about that. I'm like,
that is interesting.
We need to schedule a date night.
You do a very good job of initiating on that week.
All the pressure's off. We've got date night. I know, we know it's going to happen. That's funny. I had just realized that we might have to schedule our second date night during the month on a day that falls, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, something that falls on your days.
Okay. We can discuss that.
We can discuss that. But getting back to date night, we just want you to be thinking.
Heck, this date night led to sex. Yes,
it did. It did. And I know why he's bringing that up. Because if you listened last week, we talked about Eyes Wide Open.
Yep.
And
I want to fill in our listeners.
You want to talk about Eyes Wide Open again?
I just want to fill them in.
Okay. Well, what do you want to share with them?
No, I was just going to say we did Eyes Wide Open for the second time.
We did. Voluntarily. We didn't even talk about it.
We didn't even talk about it on date night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really cool experience again.
It was.
I think we both felt more comfortable.
Well, it's kind of like anything that, once you start to practice, it doesn't have quite that same awkward, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I supposed to, am I supposed to be open now? Or
well, and here's another thing I do know about you, though, too. And I'm not sure how other wives feel about this who have kids. But when the kids are out of the house, you are more relaxed.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
You just don't have, you're not worried about somebody knocking on your door or, the kids making noises as they hit the blinds in the room or rolling over or, all of a sudden you hear footsteps down the hallway.
See, I don't think about them.
It's not a matter of thinking about them.
I don't even realize they're around. I guess is what I'm going to
Okay, I would buy that.
Okay.
I would buy that. But as a mom, you always have that one mom ear listening.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, there's that sound. You're like, what does that mean? Am I being interrupted? And, it's that mental thing where you've got to get back into the groove.
Okay.
Literally.
All right. So our date night did end with a great lovemaking session with eyes wide open.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go back to some tips for date night.
Okay. Let's do that. Do you have any off the top of your head that you want to share?
For me, I think the biggest thing is take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Is sit down with your spouse and decide what night is your date night, and then determine who is taking the lead that month.
And just to piggyback on that, if you don't have a set date night, like we always know first Friday night for us, but if that is not an option for you, if you have to negotiate this, come to your spouse with a couple of dates in mind so that you guys can look at your calendars and say, you know what, is it going to be better if we do Fridays or Saturdays or Tuesday or Thursday, whatever your schedule is going to allow, but have a couple of options so that, if you just say, hey, let's go out this Friday and, Tony says, I can't, I've got, XYZ. I'm not like, well, great, no date night for me, but if I say, hey, can we go out Friday or Saturday? And he's like, Friday's not good, but Saturday works. Let's get the sitter and go.
Right.
Well, then we're rolling. So that's part of the communication piece. When you start scheduling date nights, if you haven't been doing them, come up with a couple of different dates so that you're not locked into just one date that may or may not work. We actually received a phone call this week on our listener feedback line, the 858-754-9937 number from Andy Traub from moreprofittechnology.com. And ironically enough, he talks about taking the lead.
Tony and Lisa, this is Andy Schropp, calling from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on behalf of myself and my wife. Wanted to share with you just real quick about our experience so far in our marriage in regards to date nights. It's funny because just last night we had what I call a discussion, which is Christian news for fighting. No, we had a heated conversation, we'll put it that way, about date nights because as the husband, I have not been leading very well with our date nights. We've had them very consistently, but I hadn't been taking the initiative to make them special and unique. So that doesn't mean expensive, but I just hadn't been taking the extra step to make them unique and fun and different and meaningful. So we do take date nights every week and get childcare most of the time. And it's been great for our marriage. But like all things in marriage, it takes some maintenance. So husbands, plan ahead. That's my advice to you. And don't bring any electronics. And, try to make it special without spending a ton of money. Thank you guys for what you're doing. And you have already helped my marriage tremendously with the few broadcasts you've already had. So keep up the great work. And looking forward to hearing the next episode. God bless. Bye.
Andy, thank you so much for calling in. And there's one comment that you made in there about taking the electronics with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andy, for that. That was just awesome. Way appreciated.
Tony has a BlackBerry, and there are times when
what's wrong with my BlackBerry?
Yeah, there are times when you have to be reminded to close that thing up, turn it off, do whatever, stop looking at all your alerts.
I'm not looking at my alerts, though. I'm taking pictures of us. Do you remember when we were at Cafe Luna and I took a picture of us?
Okay, I'm not talking about the pictures. I'm talking about the, you've got it on vibrator, you got it, and all of a sudden I see the little kind of discreet, I wonder who that is. Oh, okay.
Only you've never told me this.
I told you a
couple
days ago.
Now I know. Thank you. You've never said that to me while we're on date night.
Well, that's one of those things I expected you to read my mind, that electronics maybe should not be the focus of date night.
I forgot. I have ESP. Thank you very much, honey.
Anyway, Andy, thank you for those comments. We appreciate what you've shared with us and what's going on with your marriage and your deliberate and intentional date nights that you're doing. And I think, as we talk about ways to make them special, things to do, get creative. Don't think that every date night's got to be dinner and a movie.
Right.
If you like going to a park, if you find out that, in conversation with your spouse that he or she would really love to go see a play or a musical, get tickets, surprise them, go window shopping at a mall, or, go, if you're in the mood for furniture, make it an event, where you're out, let's go to Pier 1, or let's go to, whatever store is near you, and let's dream together. Right.
We've done as easy as going to dinner and rolling over to Borders and getting our hot cocoa as we just sort of stroll around Borders and hang out and talk and hold hands. We've done what we did this past date night, of just sitting down at home and watching a movie. We've gone to sushi and to the beach and for drives.
We've done a lot of different things. And, Andy even commented on there that, making them unique, making them memorable. And I think a lot of that has to do with don't fall into the same rut. Think about things that your spouse likes to do and say, you know what, this is my month to plan date night, or my week, or, whatever your frequency is. I'm going to do something that he likes to do. I'm going to surprise him, and I've got the night planned, and this is what we're doing, and run with it. Run with it. The most important thing is to remember that this is a special time for the two of you.
Right.
This is your date night. Years ago when you were dating, you couldn't wait to get to Friday night when it was like, ooh, he's coming to pick me up at 7. I wonder what we're going to do. And, you're like dancing around, getting dressed and, having a good time. And then he shows up at the door and you're like, oh, he's here. Go back to that. Yes, now you're sharing a bedroom, but, open the bedroom door and be like, you're here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm ready for date night again.
Wow. Yeah. Well, get the sitter. Take the lead.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, folks, it's been another great week. We are so appreciative of the phone calls that we've been receiving on the listener feedback line, the 858-754-9937.
And you can call that anytime, 24/7. It does not ring to any phone. It's just a Google Voice number, and it pops up in our inbox.
Once again, checking the BlackBerry. But those are the calls I'm okay with him receiving. So please call in, comment on any of our podcasts, what we're doing. We love to hear from you. You can also email us. You can email me at askalisa@oneextraordinarymarriage.com, or you can reach Tony
at asktony@oneextraordinarymarriage.com.
You can jump on our Facebook fan page.
Yes, please do. And if you're already there, tell your other friends and family about this podcast. We just, when we started this out, we just couldn't believe how many folks are a part of the One community now. It is truly a blessing for us to be able to speak to you each week, to write about what we feel and what we've gone through in our marriage, and to be able to get in contact with you guys and to build up these really cool relationships that we have all over the country it's awesome.
Well, and we say this a lot, but we are truly privileged at how you share your lives with us, whether it's on the Facebook page, whether it's emails to us, whether it's posts on the website at oneextraordinarymarriage.com. You are making this memorable for us because you are being open and honest and very transparent with your lives. And there are really not words to describe how much we appreciate what you share with us and the trust that you give us. And we just want to say thank you.
Yep.
It's awesome. Most everything goes to Tony first, because he's got it all hooked up through his BlackBerry.
No.
It's also because
you don't want to deal with the computer stuff.
Yeah, he's the tech guy. So I usually get these emails forwarded to me during the day, and he's like, check this out and check that out and look at the Facebook page. And it blows my mind. Just how much we've seen in the last week, where it's really just, people are forwarding our podcasts on, they're sharing the blogs with their friends. We're popping up on Twitter and, all over the place. And and
it's because of you guys.
It is. And I'm blown away knowing that, every week we're here on the mics and there are people all over the country, literally from coast to coast. And, you guys know we've got listeners up in Alaska and so up there.
South Korea.
Oh, that's right. We do have a listener in South Korea. So we're international. And
we're international.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun because of you. And so we
thank you.
We thank you. And we take you very seriously. So any comments or feedback that you want to give us,
please. We
are open to receiving any and all comments.
Yep. And before we end this podcast, and we usually don't do this, but I was thinking, you know what? What's your date night? When's your date night? What are you doing? So post down below in the little comment section and let us know what you're doing, when you're doing it. And you know what? Your idea may spark an idea for another couple out there who might be in a rut.
Oh, that's great.
And so with us all out there giving comments about different date nights, many of us, even Elisa and I, we get in these ruts. It might spark something for us to go, whoa, we didn't think about that. Let's go try this. So to that, thank you guys. We love you.